This is a very quick summary of Book 9 of the Odyssey and the beginning of Book 10. This is part of a narrative that Odysseus is making called the Apology from Books 9 to 12, when he is talking to King Alcinous, the father of Nausicaa, who found him shipwrecked on the beach and hiding behind a leafy branch. Her island, by the way, is presumably modern Corfu, but it might be a smaller Albanian island slightly further north, now a military facility called Sazan, or more bizarrely, the city-state of Atlantis, somewhere beyond the Pillars of Hercules. But all of these places are 20 days sailing from Ogygia. Odysseus invokes Zeus as the god of guests, but at the same time he also blames Zeus for his misfortune. He blames him 4 times. And then at the end of the book, he sacrifices a ram to Zeus, and Zeus, he says, takes no notice because he's already decided that he's going to destroy me. There are some other themes which are important. One is the idea of Odysseus' reputation. The book begins by Odysseus confirming his name to King Alcinous and talking about his background. And when he's left the Cyclops, he makes the mistake, maybe, he gets angry, and he says, I am Odysseus. And the third point, which is important, or third theme, is the idea of Odysseus' piety and his grief ritual for the dead after the Cicones expedition and disaster in line 65. He circles the boats 3 times. Now the journey takes place in a series of stages. I count 6 in Book 9, and then there's a 7th at the beginning of Book 10. So the first is from Troy to Ismarus, the city of the Cicones, which is in Thrace. 2 is an unnamed island where they spend 2 days and 2 nights. 3, they go past Malea and Cythera. 4, they spend 9 days and get to the island of the Lotus Eaters, which is unnamed. 5, they spend a day on a luxurious wooded island near the Cyclops Island, which is full of goats. And 6, they go across out of pure curiosity to the Cyclops Island and then have their adventure there. 7, finally, they sail to the floating island of Aeolus. The narrative details. First of all, about Xenia, about the principle of hospitality. Odysseus is prepared. Odysseus takes with him from his boat a goatskin full of precious wine, very, very strong wine, that he got from the priest of Apollo, who, in the past, he'd protected. So this, in itself, was a precious present, and Odysseus is ready to present this to the host of the Cyclops Island, which may or may not be Sicily. So in the cave, waiting for the host to arrive, the men, quite reasonably, eat some of his cheese. And then the host arrives and is this giant and thug, and the men are terrified, and they run to an inner chamber where they watch the Cyclops, Polyphemus, milking his goats, and then they come out, and then the dialogue takes place, and Polyphemus makes it quite clear that he has no interest in hospitality. He kills 2 men and brutally eats them. After this, there's a little paragraph where Odysseus says that he plans to kill him that night, just stick a sword in him. And then he realizes that that would leave him trapped because of the boulder that Polyphemus has placed against the door, which is so heavy that no man can move it. So Odysseus then starts to plot and is scheming. In the morning, Polyphemus kills another 2 men, and Odysseus uses a huge staff of green olive wood. Very important that it's green, because it's not going to burn. He cuts off a fathom of this and sharpens it and then hides it in a dung pile. They cast lots to decide who will help Odysseus to blind the Cyclops. The Cyclops returns at dusk and kills another 2 men. So that's 6 men gone out of 12. Odysseus offers Polyphemus a bowl of the very strong wine, but he also adds at that point that the Cyclops has already offended the principle of Xenia. The Cyclops then drinks 3 bowlfuls. Then there's a conversation, the famous conversation about nobody. Who are you? I am nobody. Okay, I will eat nobody last, says the Cyclops. Now, this is significant because there's a little joke which occurs just a little bit beyond that, where the Greek word for no one is outis, the Greek word for not anyone is metis, And the Greek word for cleverness or trickery is metis. So eventually Odysseus is going to become the most clever person, polymetes. So no one has this scheme to trick the Cyclops. The Cyclops, after drinking the wine, promptly falls to sleep and vomits. Now he's sleeping on his chest with his face turned towards Odysseus. Odysseus takes the stake and pushes it in the fire to make it very hot. Now, of course, it won't burn because it's green olive wood. It says, again, if we're looking at the piety of Odysseus, that Odysseus is inspired to courage by a god. Anyway, they take the staff that's come out of the dung heap, been heated in the fire, and plunge the staff into his eye. And then there's quite a lot of detail about how the staff is turned around in the eye to make sure that the giant is truly blinded. The Cyclops calls to his friends, to the other Cyclops on the Cyclopedes on the island, and his friends are puzzled because he says, "No one has hurt me." "Well, if no one's hurt you, then we can't help you." The following morning, the Greeks escape under the sheep. Now, they've been tied to the sheep, a little bit like Odysseus was tied to the mast. So a lot of tying going on here. Each of the 6 men is tied under 3 sheep.